Good morning, my name's Kerry Duval, I'm the Warrior Queen. Welcome to another episode of An Audience with a Queen. I've got an absolutely amazing guest. I don't think there's nothing this woman hasn't done, so let's get into it. See you in a minute. Good morning, Vickie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Kerry, and it's good evening from Australia.
Well, good evening to Australia and any Australians that are watching.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem, no worry. So I was saying in the introduction, so I said, I don't think there's pretty much anything you haven't done, because you have done quite a lot, haven't you?
I have done quite a lot, but I'm sure there's a lot more that I haven't done that I'm looking forward to doing.
Yep. So first off, I'm going to say, who is Vickie?
That's a very good question. No one's ever asked me that. Who am I? Obviously, you know, my name is Vickie Simos. I come from a country town 3 hours out of Adelaide, which is one of the states in Australia. Moved. Now I'm giving you a bit more background than who I am, but it sort of explains who I am. So, yeah, raised in country town, and then basically, long story short, moved to the city because I knew there was a lot more I wanted to do and be. And, you know, living in the country wasn't going to give me that. So I moved to the city, and the bigger, the better.
Yeah. And you have done a lot of big things with your life.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. It's funny when you do stuff, you don't realize you just do it. And then, you know, yourself and other people have often said to me, you know, gee, you've done a lot. What is there that you haven't done? But, you know, I'm just me, and I do whatever, I suppose, you know, wherever the place takes me, or wherever the wind takes me, I guess.
Yeah. No, well, I want to jump in and ask you about doing karate and getting your black belts. I believe you've got, is it 2?
Correct, yes.
Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, we call them dans. So you get your black belt, just to give you a bit of context, and then you have your dans or your degrees, depending on who you ask. And the degrees or the dans are the little white stripes that you get on your black belt. So yeah, I've got one. I'm a second dan in karate and a fourth dan in the Doce Eskrima, which is stick fighting.
And how long have you been doing all that?
I originally started when I was 15, started with Taekwondo, which is a form of karate. I did that for 4 years, and then I stopped for a few years and started playing soccer, and then got back into it in, oh my God, don't even ask me what year that was. Probably 18 years ago now. And yeah, haven't really stopped, probably stopped for about a year in between moving states, and then got back into it.
Yeah. How did you originally get into it, can I ask?
Oh, I'm going to kill it for the audience, especially if they buy my book, but we can talk about that later. There was a boy I liked in the class. So my brother used to train in karate, and he's like, guess what? So-and-so is doing it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it too. I was terrible. And the worst part of it was that he knew that I was doing it because he was there.
Yeah. So in doing the karate, did you ever get to punch him or kick him, whatever?
Well, yeah, we did get to work together a little bit, but he had this cheeky grin and he knew why I was there. So, yeah, it just made it really weird and awkward, and all the things a 15-year-old would be feeling while we're training with the boy she likes.
Oh, God. I don't think I'd have been able to do that. You know, I'd just been like, I'd just look at you and watch you and maybe kick you. That's about it. I wouldn't have been able to do it, so.
Well, didn't really have a choice.
I've got to ask you about stick fighting. So obviously I did ask you this before the show. most of us grew up stick fighting. So what's the difference between what we did and what you did? And can we go and get a gold medal?
Well, I'm guessing the sticks are a little bit different. I wish I knew you were going to ask me this question. Otherwise, I would have gone and got them. They're just in my garage. But the ones that I use and have been trained in are made of cane. And they're actually, I don't know, about yay long, maybe half a broomstick and diameter like that. And they're made out of cane, but they also disintegrate bone. So if you actually hit someone flesh, yeah, you could really do a lot of damage. So
yeah, no, that's not the stick we had.
So from the fighting point of view, you've got to wear armor. You look like a gladiator, and you just basically hit each other with a stick. It's a 1 minute round, but there is technique behind it. It's not just, you know,
hit them on the head,
hitting, you know. Whereas your version, I guess, is a little bit different. You don't have to wear armor. So I guess that's the big difference.
Well, I don't know, because armour probably would have protected us from getting the amount of bruises we did. Because, I mean, I always did it with boys, and they always aim for the head. So I always say it was straight off. As if you were against a boy, you always aim for the nether regions or the head to get them on the floor and win. Because otherwise, they were going to hit you that hard and you'd fall down.
Well, that sounds like maybe they should have introduced stick fighting years ago.
We'd have all been gold medalists, though, if they did that in the UK.
Oh, look, by the sounds of it, you should be. So let me give you an honorary one.
Yeah, I'll have an honorary gold medal in stick fighting.
Done.
Yeah, I'll add that to my credentials. Yeah. And you're also a personal trainer. I want to ask you, how did you get into that?
Well, I don't like to call myself that these days, but when I did get into personal training, I was inspired by the second trainer that taught me all these disciplines. I wanted to do what he did because I saw the changes that he made, you know, within people, and I saw the changes that I had made within myself. So I was like, yep, I want to do what you do. And that's kind of how my life's been. It's kind of like, I see you, I like what you're doing, you've inspired me, let me do that. So it is the same thing for the counselling too.
Yeah. So it is a case of you see somebody else enjoying something, you think, I could have a go at that, I'm going to go for it.
Well, pretty much from the training point of view, yes. He was very unorthodox, but I probably wouldn't be where I am today because of him. Like, obviously, I've done the work, but you need someone to encourage and inspire and all of that, and obviously your other supports. From a fighting perspective, I never would have dreamed that I would have achieved, you know, what I've achieved. I've traveled overseas and competed overseas, you know, nationally, internationally in these multidisciplines. That was never my any idea of doing that. I only went to see him because I had heard that, you know, he helped other athletes or other martial artists attain their black belt. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. I'll stay for 6 months. 11 years later.
So in those 11 years, you mentioned that you did a lot of traveling. So what was the best place that you traveled to?
Mainly we traveled, like we did the US. We went to the Philippines because that was where the Supreme Grandmaster, who is the Supreme Grandmaster for the stick fighting, or the Doce Eskrima, he was actually one of the ones that developed it. So the Philippines was quite a place we visited quite often, or I visited quite often. So that would probably be my favorite, purely because I got to work with him one-on-one. And then unfortunately he did pass many years later, but I had that opportunity. And yeah, my skill level went sort of from about here to about up there.
Yeah. So around the USA, so what was the favorite part around the USA?
To be honest with you, I've traveled to the US a few times, and when I went to compete, it wasn't the best time. I'll be honest and open about that. I was going through a lot of issues mentally, and that was my idea of actually running away. So I basically paid all this money, had one fight, lost, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
So it wasn't the best first experience for competing, because I went there for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
So you mentioned obviously you had some mental challenges. So do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. Just to give you some context, growing up in the country, child of Greek migrants, first generation. So, they didn't understand a lot of what people go through with their mental health. I'm the youngest of 3, 2 older siblings. So, back then it was all this stigma about mental health. So we didn't know what the names of things were. But as I sort of got older, moved to the city, realized, there was a few issues, and then was diagnosed with anxiety and slight depression. And that's still with me now, but not as much as what it used to be, and thus why I got into, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. So would you say that because of the mental challenges, it's basically made you who you are today?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Brilliant.
100%. But you've got to do the work.
Yeah, obviously.
And I always didn't want to do the work. So,
Yeah, but I think that can be a part of mental health, but that's all getting my words out, Gary. It could also be a personality trait, because sometimes you're allowed to have those days where you think, I can't be bothered. I just want to sit down, chill out, watch some crap on television. You're allowed to have those days, but it can also be a good thing for your mental health to have those down days and just relax and process everything and then go again the next day.
Yeah, that's very true. And I agree. And that's probably happened more the last few years. But when I was dealing with whatever I was dealing with, because I actually didn't know what I was dealing with, it was hidden under anger. Well, not really hidden. I was angry all the time, hated the world. It was everyone else. It wasn't me. I wasn't the problem. So-and-so was the problem. And that sort of took a lot to turn around and go, you know what? I'm done feeling this way. Let's see what it feels like to be the other way, like happy.
Yeah. Yeah. So in going through all those dark times, did you have one particular lowest time in your life?
Yeah, actually. And I've written that in the book that I'll mention a bit more later on. It's strange. It was a weird few months. So just to tell you the story, if you don't mind, this is where it sort of all came to like a grinding halt of, okay, I really need to do something now. So I was living with my brother, I think, at the time, and I was at mid-20s, I think it was. And like I said, I knew there was a problem. And basically they were planning to go see my parents who were in the country town and wanted me to go with them. And I'm like, no. And just things started happening. It was like I was possessed. So in one instance, when you're boiling a kettle, put water in the kettle, those ones that used to have the lids. I'm sure a lot of people have got them. Totally forgot to put water in it. Close the lid, explodes. And then on one of the other days, it just... Wow. And then one of the other days, I'm just sitting there doing something and a couple of tiles fall off the wall. Like all these little things were happening, and it's like, am I creating this because of my, so low, so depressed? Just felt, I couldn't explain it. It's hard to explain, and it almost sounds like I was possessed. But it was in those times where I was feeling really, really low. So I would probably count that as my lowest.
Yeah. So when you was in those lowest points, I mean, you've already said that with your family background, there's not a lot of knowledge around mental health. Did you get any support from them?
Well, not really, because, for them growing up and, moving to a new country, it was all about survival. No one discussed mental health. It was like, we need to get food on the table, a roof on our heads. And, I've asked them about it now, and they're much more, understanding of mental health probably in the last, 10, 15 years. And we're always learning. But back then, you couldn't really, I felt like I couldn't talk to my parents because they wouldn't understand. I mean, at the time, I couldn't even talk to my siblings, which is why I put it all in a book.
Yeah. So you basically channeled all the anger that you had into your doing your fighting?
Pretty much, but that took a bit of time too. It wasn't just let's get into martial arts. Because when I got into it, as I explained earlier, it was for a boy. And it was only when I moved to the city and trained with this trainer that, like I said, again, he was very unorthodox and he could see through you. You know, he could really see. It wasn't just, I'm training you. I mean, it took him 2 years to actually properly speak to me. You know, I was just hidden in the corner boxing on a bag, and that was kind of it. So, yeah, it was probably at that point, and probably a few years in. It wasn't like straight away, because my intent was not to go there, you know, to get help or anything to do with my mental health. It was basically to get this black belt. But as the years progressed, met different people, the anger was still there. And then I started seeking therapy and then kind of connected the two.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously a lot of people do use fighting as a therapy, so channeling that anger. And I believe you said, who was it? No, I've lost
Nelson
it.
Mandela.
Yeah. I've got that many things in my head at the moment.
Oh, trust me, I totally understand.
Yeah. You told me that Nelson Mandela did it while he was in prison. So he had a boxing bag.
Correct.
Yeah,
yep,
and obviously
he used boxing to channel his anger rather than hitting the guards.
Yeah, which is always a good idea. You know, if you are in prison, do find yourself in prison. You know, channel your anger into something positive. Don't attack the other prisoners or the prison guards, because otherwise you're just going to stay in there a little bit longer.
That's really good advice. Really good advice.
Yeah, the one piece of advice I'm going to give out is don't do anything that's going to find yourself in prison.
Well,
I love my freedom too much.
There is that too, but funny you should say that, because I actually work in corrections, youth corrections.
Yeah, just don't do anything to land yourself in prison. Enjoy your freedom.
Right. That is the best solution, really.
Yeah, enjoy your freedom. Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? Yeah. So, your next venture, after doing your fighting, you're winning your black belts and your gold medal, you went into business. So tell us about that.
So the business is, that's why I'm wearing the hat, Thelo Active Therapy. Thelo is the Greek word for I want, I need, which is what a personal trainer will ask you, what a counsellor will ask you, you know, in any therapeutic form. That's what they'll ask you. So I started the business a couple of years ago through the pandemic, probably the best time, because I was also working a full-time job, which I still work now. And it was a good time to start it. So it's basically combining martial arts, using martial arts as a combination or an alternative to the mainstream therapy, because not everyone is able to sit down and have a chat with someone. I mean, I found it difficult when I had to go and see my therapist for the first time. So this is just a different way of getting information out of someone without making it awkward and uncomfortable and, yeah, forcing, you know, answers out of people.
Yeah. So do you not get them to punch a punching bag when they're angry in your therapy sessions?
No, I don't. That comes later. No. They probably want to punch me more than a bag. But anyway, no, the way I structure the sessions, depends on who I'm training. So it's not just a one size fits all. So a lot of my clients are kids, which is my primary, you know, because I went through what I went through. I want to encourage these kids to have confidence, you know, positive self-esteem, all the things that I sort of didn't have growing up. So it's basically looking at the age group as well. So anyone under 10, I tend to go the karate, because the boxing would be too much for their developmental, whereas karate, it's more of a less, what's the word I'm looking for? Not less violent, but the moves are a lot different than boxing.
Yeah, there's more discipline in karate.
Yeah, and it's a good place to start for that age group. Whereas you're sort of 10 and above, you know, you can introduce boxing and the other martial arts because the brains have developed a bit more and they're able to, you know, absorb the information. But that being said, again, it depends on who I'm working with. So, you know, meeting the young person, I'll determine, or even the adult, I'll determine where they are currently, and then I'll get them to either box, you know, I'll even get them to try, you know, the stick fighting, but that's sort of not the fighting itself, but the art, I should say. But yeah, generally I'll start with karate and then potentially move up to the boxing. And then depending on where they're at, maybe introduce a bit of the stick. But the way I structure the sessions is more of a mindfulness way, not just, oh, let's put gloves on and let's hit. So most of my clients, actually all of them, have not put gloves on until about the 10th session.
Yeah. Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is get them to channel all that anger into punching the punching bag or the wall, whatever, and then not talk about it, because it's okay to do that, but you do still need to talk about things as well, because, as you say, it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's what works best for different individuals.
Exactly. Yeah. And you made a really good point about you've got to do the talking. So when I started training, and for me, boxing is my go-to, when I was training, all these emotions came to the surface, but I didn't know what to do with them. Which is why then I found that going to therapy actually helped explore those emotions. Because you're right, you've got all these emotions, you're just hitting, yeah, okay, it's great, but what happens next?
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously while you're punching things, you're getting all this adrenaline in your body and you don't know how to deal with it. You're going to want to punch more, but that isn't going to help you in the long term. You can't stand there and punch a punch bag all day long. You've got to be able to talk about your feelings, talk about what's going on in here.
Exactly right. And it's funny you say that, because one of my clients, most recent, the parent told me that the young person punched a wall because he was so angry at his sister. And I'm like, you've got to come up with different strategies. A, you'll bust your hand. Yeah. But B, there's going to be people in your life that are going to annoy you and bother you, and you are going to want to hit, but you obviously can't do that. So you've got to think of different strategies, which is where I also introduce like diaphragmatic breathing, positive affirmations. So I sort of do like a mindfulness from the breathing perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, we've recently introduced meditation to our child. He has autism and ADHD, and he has ODD, so he does have a lot of anger issues, and we're trying to get him to control the anger, because getting older with the anger issues he's got, it's not going to land him in a good place, and we don't want that for him. We want him to be successful in the future. So we've started introducing meditation. So when he's angry, instead of picking something up and throwing it or punching a wall, it's channeling that energy, the negative energy, into something positive. Do some meditation, do some drawing or something like that, or do some running up and down, because he's got to learn how to channel that energy into something positive, because otherwise it's just not going to bode well in the future for him.
Exactly right. How old is he?
10.
A good place to start. I mean, I wish I knew all these things at that age as well, but it's a really good place to start. And how's he been going with it?
It started okay, yeah. He'll sit down, he'll do meditation for 5 or 10 minutes. And I talked him through the method that I do. So basically, I make the room quiet as I can, and I basically close my eyes, do some breathing exercises, and then do it where I'm walking along some warm sand and I feel the warm sand on my feet. And then I come to a door and it opens up into my little space where everything's calm, relaxed. I can basically pull all the negative energy out of me, put it into the lake, and everything comes back positive towards me. And that's the way that I did it. Somebody taught me that way, and it works for me. So every now and then I'll just disappear upstairs for 10, 15 minutes, do my meditation, and it just relaxes me and I feel more positive afterwards.
That's great. That's so good, because I do my own breathing pretty much every day, if not twice a day as well, before I go to work, and sometimes, during the day. And I just do 3 different ones. Like I'll do a 4-7-8 where you inhale for 4, hold for 7, release for 8. And then I'll do an affirmation one of trying to get rid of the negative, negative energy and negative things that have gone on for that day. And then I also do like tapping.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I read about that. It's where you tap certain areas of your body, and it's supposed to help you. I mean, I'm always beginning to look into it, so I don't know too much yet.
Yeah, it's basically you talk about a problem you have, and obviously you don't want to go too severe, especially if you've not the support. And then it's basically problem solution. But as you're discussing it, you're thinking about it, you're tapping in those certain areas.
Yeah. I'm going to have to do more reading into it, because I think that might work as well. It's brilliant to have all these different ways of helping him, because obviously we don't know what's going to work for him yet. The meditation might not work in long term. So it's good to have those backup ideas ready to say, right, okay, let's try this.
Absolutely. And like we just said earlier, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah, it's not. Obviously, I'm doing my coaching levels at the moment, and I'm doing my level 3 to be a therapist. And I'm still learning different techniques. So I haven't helped anybody just yet on a one-to-one basis. But I do know a few techniques to help people.
Yeah. But that also comes through life experience. You can have all the tech, experience from school and study and all that, the technical, but you've also got to have life experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. Obviously I've lived it. I've been to the lowest point. I've attempted to end my life, so I know what that lowest point in your life feels like. And I know the struggles between getting from that point to like where I am now, where I'm sat in front of a camera and I can talk about it openly.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, I know the struggles of it. It's not easy. It is a long, hard trek, and it has been a long, hard, 3.5 years. It's not been all plain, easy sailing. No. It's not. There's still days where I think I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to. I don't want to be an adult today.
Yeah.
But then I tell myself, #never quit. I've got to keep going.
Yeah, that's the, aim of the game. Never give up and be your best self. Yeah. And that's sort of what I run too. Like, I probably not have been to the lowest points as you have, but I have considered suicide once when I was much younger. Yeah. But you just got to, rise above it, I guess. And for me anyway, it was just having the right supports and wanting to do it. I think my turning point was, okay, I've done with the anger.
Yeah. So what happened to you to get to that point where you considered ending your life?
It was a long time ago. I don't even, it was probably while I was still living in the country. And I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. I was driving the car and I thought all it would take is one turn of the steering wheel. I could smash straight into a tree and then we'd be done. Didn't do it, thankfully. But, the consideration was there. It has been the only one time, but it was definitely there because where I was living, I was really unhappy. And it just felt like you were stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? And I know more. I do know about that because obviously even now, I said that everything's not plain sailing. I just still do have those thoughts of where my nana's ashes were scattered, they were put into the ocean. And one of the frequent suicidal thoughts I have is going to Blackpool and jumping off the end of the pier. That is one of the thoughts I do have. And it is quite frequently. I wouldn't say frequent all the time. I would say like every time I get to the point where I'm feeling low, I think about that and I think, I can't do that. I always think my kids need me. Yeah. And that's basically why I stick around. But when I got to that point where I wanted to end my life, my kids needing me just didn't come into it. It got that bad where I just couldn't even be a mum anymore because I got that low.
Yeah.
I don't like saying it now, but that's how bad things got for me.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you seek therapy. You're seeing someone.
No, Adam was going through all his mental health credentials and he knew obviously lots of techniques through doing that. And he obviously talking to him and trying the techniques that he'd learned about really helped me. And then I got into meditation. So it was basically his mental health training, talking to me, teaching me these techniques, and I learned how to do it through that.
That's amazing. You should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of myself because of how far I've come, but I'm proud that I've been able to do the journey without going to therapy. Basically, Adam's been my rock there, and he's been my therapist all the way through. Even though he wasn't licensed until recently, he was always my therapist.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can sit here and I can say that Adam saved my life, but I saved his. So we've saved each other and we've helped each other.
And you know what? You generally get that, and you hear that a lot with, couples that have struggled in their lives, that they save sort of each other. So that's really nice. Again, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, not a problem.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah, no, well, I'm open and honest about everything. Anything people want to know, feel free to ask, because I can tell everybody about it now. I'm not ashamed that I got that.
You should never be ashamed. And
No.
I guess that's what the problem is with, mental health, because there's this stigma attached. And I remember when I was telling a friend that I actually need therapy, and she laughed at me. Yeah. And then many years later, it came up again, and I said, "You laughed." She goes, "Oh, I thought you were joking." And I'm like, "Why would I be joking about this?"
No, it's about being able to talk to the right person. I mean, obviously here at the Mental Health Warriors, we want to try and remove that stigma of mental health by encouraging people to talk about it. Yeah, you've got really, really low, but now you're at a point where, you're sat here and you're telling me about it. So what's happened in that space of time, however long it might have been, to change.
Exactly. And
change the whole mindset.
That's right. And then you end up inspiring and encourage other people to, to speak their truth and what's happened to them.
Yeah, and this is why we do these shows, in the hope that we are encouraging other people to share their stories, because no matter how hard it's been, how long it's been, that's still your journey, that's your story. At one point you were really, really low, wanting to end things, but then you come back, and what triggered you to stay and to stop yourself and stay and sort yourself out? Because that story can help another person.
That's exactly right. Well, good on to both of you for doing this show.
Yeah,
it's great. And if it can help someone or one person even, it's
well, that's what we hope. We hope by doing these shows, even if we just help one person, that's our job done. Even though we want to help as many people as possible, we can help one person, at least we're doing a good thing.
That's exactly right. And they pay, you end up paying it forward.
Yeah, exactly. Adam's just popped up in the comments on my account, saying from David Higgins, "Stop caring what other people think of you." I think that's brilliant, Adam.
I totally agree. And that wasn't the case for me for a long time. However, I think once you get older, and I'm going to quote my sister now because she's like 9 years older, where she's like, well, when you get to my age, and I now can totally see it, because you just don't care.
No, you get to a certain point in your life, you stop worrying about having the latest phone and the latest clothes, and you just think, a phone is a phone. I can ring, I can text, I can go on Facebook, games, whatever. I can chill out a little bit on it. I don't need to have the latest phone. As nice as it is, I don't need it.
Well, I can't use the latest phone because I'm technologically challenged. I was excited to reconnect my phone to my car yesterday. So that's as big as my form of technology. So, but you're right. Yeah. I mean, look, I've hit that point, and I've probably hit it since I've moved here to Victoria, because I moved from SA 6 years ago, and just the different challenges that I had. And I had a really low point in 2018, but somehow rose above that as well.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about that low point?
Sure. I wasn't meaning to bring it up, but here we are. I actually had, let me start the beginning of the year. So I had 2 relatives pass away in the beginning of the year, although we weren't close, to auntie and an uncle. But the uncle was very close to my mum. It was my mum's brother. Yeah. And then that same beginning of the year, I quit the job that I used to work in the mines, because I used to work in the mines. So I could stay in Victoria all the time versus traveling back and forth to SA. And then during that time, a friend of mine passed away. She was unfortunately an alcoholic, and unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to talk too much about it, but she succumbed to, addiction. Yeah. She didn't want to get any help, and she accidentally, and I say accidentally because she fell, hit her head, and never woke up. And then another 5 people throughout the year passed away that I knew. Wow. But during that time,
really bad year, yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
You had a really bad year with losing people that year.
Oh my God. One of them did kill himself. We used to work together. And that's notorious, unfortunately, working in the mines, because you're isolated. So, he unfortunately couldn't see a way out. And then during that period, I also started a new job, and within a month, the job fell through. So I was also unemployed. So I guess everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Wasn't in a very good headspace. Did find some part-time work. And I know, work's not the most important, but you still need to make money to pay rent and stuff like that. Managed somehow through the grace of God or whatever to get out of it. And as the years progressed, and knock on wood, things have improved immensely. But lost a lot of people in that 1 year.
Karen Unruh, again, a former warrior, one of the sayings that she does is we have to go through shit to grow. So 2018 was your shit year, but you grew into this person you are today. So you had to go through that shit to become the person you are today.
Look, I totally agree with you. And I must admit, from the beginning of that year, I think I became a bit complacent and, thought I had the world at my feet. Well, not so much. While you can have it, you can certainly lose it in an instant. And you're right, I think that was a lesson I definitely had to learn. So I take nothing for granted now, nothing.
Yeah. Appreciate everything in your life, because you never know what's around the corner. You could lose everything. So just appreciate what you have got.
Exactly
and that's
right.
That's a lesson we do all need to keep in our heads.
Exactly right, which is why I appreciate the friends that I've got, appreciate the job that I have, even though I'm trying to build a business, take nothing for granted. Just one day at a time, and don't get arrogant. Just do what I need to do, head down, bum up, and that's it.
Yep. We've got another saying from Adam.
Oh, here we go.
Words from Steve Harvey: whatever happened to you in the past cannot change, but what are you going to do about it now?
I think I've read that before from Adam. I think he posted it a few days ago.
He did, He's definitely been saying that over the last couple of days, Adam. He's like a parrot. He'll just keep repeating himself.
But I totally agree with him. My sister's quite a big follower of Steve Harvey. I'm not so much. I mean, I follow like Brene Brown. I love listening to her stuff, and Jay Shetty.
Yeah. Anyway, back to you. You can finally tell us about the book.
The book. Okay. Yeah, because I've dropped little hints, unobvious hints. Oh, here we go. Here's one I prepared earlier. So the book is called The Boxer Within. And basically it's an autobiography of the things that I went through, with my mental health issues and how martial arts helped combat that. And then basically, things that I did and things that other people can do. But in a nutshell, it doesn't have to be martial art. It can be whatever. But just finding the passion, find something, don't be stagnant, don't sit still. There's things out there you can try, do. So, yeah.
So before we finish, one final question. If you could give one piece of advice to yourself in, say, 2018, when you were going through all that shit to grow to the person you are now, what would that advice be?
It's a really good question. Don't give up. Keep going. It's not the end. There's better days ahead. Probably a few bits of advice in there, but just keep going.
Yeah. And where can people find you?
Where can they find me? I have to think about that. My website's www.theloactivetherapy.com. You can also email me if you like at vickie@yahoo.com. A bit of a sneaky one. If you want to purchase the book, you can email me or connect with me via the website, or you can buy it online from all booksellers.
Yeah. So is it on Amazon?
It is.
Yeah, we can say that.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being an absolutely amazing guest, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it and the opportunity. And thank you for sharing your story with me.
Not a problem. And you're welcome back anytime.
Look forward to it. Maybe we'll do it in the flesh in the UK, or we can talk about down the track, see how the business is going and how other things are going. So I'll be happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Keep in touch and see you later.
Definitely. Take care. Thank you very much.
Bye.